Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Fall 2025 Clinical Teaching Orientation. My name is Brenda Miller, and I'm joined today by our new Clinical Placement and Experience Coordinator, Sheila Owens. We designed this session to be interactive and to prepare you for a successful clinical experience. So thank you so much for joining us today. All right, before we begin, let me address a few housekeeping items for the next hour. Please keep your cameras on. I see most people right now, cameras are off. Those need to be on the entire time. Thank you for your attendance to count. Okay, be prepared to participate. Please take notes on important details. We will save specific questions for the end at the Q&A session. And while we've got plenty of time slotted for that, we want to respect everyone's time. If you will make a note of questions you have as we go along, we will address those then and you will not forget them. All right, and so with that said, I had put a prompt in the chat, which I'm going to drop in again for people who had gotten here really early. We're going to be taking attendance throughout the presentation using the chat. So for the first check right now, you can see I've dropped it in the chat again. Please type in the chat your name with the title your learners will use when addressing you. For example, I would be Ms. Miller in the classroom, your program, and one question you hope to have answered today. And then while you're entering that information, I'll hand the presentation over to Mrs. Owens, who will begin discussing the expectations of clinical teaching.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Again, I am Mrs. Owens, and I am new to the college as an employee, but I did graduate from UTA with my undergrad and with my master's in educational leadership. So I feel like I'm back at home. It's kind of like a little circle of life thing going on. So first off, let me say by no means am I an expert about what I'm about to present. I'm learning as I'm going. This is actually my second month here. I started May 19th. However, I've been getting awesome training from Miss Miller. So I believe that with this training, you will get a great understanding of what's to be expected next. So my part of the presentation is talking about your clinical expectations, starting off with professional dispositions. Then we're going to talk about reporting your placement, to your placement, teaching expectations, absenteeism, substitute teaching, and communication expectations. So let's get started. As a clinical teacher, you will be assessed using UTA's professional disposition rubrics. To fully understand what a disposition means, let's define it. And this is found in your handbook. As far as teaching, professional dispositions are the habits of professional action and moral commitments that underlie an educator's performance. They are essentially the professional habits of mind and heart that shapes the teacher's behavior and impacts student learning and development. Know that the purpose of assessing professional dispositions is to document your growth as you matriculate through the Educator Preparation Program, or EPP. The assessment areas include, if you take a look at the slide deck, committed to students and their learning, receives and acts upon professional feedback, demonstrates professional practices and demeanor, communicates effectively and professionally, collaborates with others in a positive and professional manner, demonstrates cultural competence in interaction and communication. What I want you to do right now is I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to just briefly skim through those bullet points, starting now. About 10 more seconds. Okay, so as the slide deck reads, with your professional dispositions, you are always interview ready. Those first two categories, the first two areas, you are being assessed by your cooperating teacher and your field supervisor. Those four remaining categories of professional dispositions, you are being assessed by your cooperating teacher, your field supervisor, your ISD personnel, your professors, and your co-ed staff. Now, here it is. Let's go deeper and let's specifically take a look at disposition number 3, professional practice and demeanor, by looking at this rubric. It is expected that you aspire to reach the target portion of the rubric, and it reads as follows. Demonstrates a professional appearance and demeanor in all school and other professional settings or interactions. Dresses and conducts self appropriately, communicates effectively with students and colleagues, meets scheduled time, hour commitment, and is prepared, responds promptly to electronic communications. Now, if you'll take a look at the left side of the rubric, the acceptable and unacceptable portions, take a look at the highlighted wording. Like with acceptable, demonstrates an emerging professional appearance, generally prepared. And then at the unacceptable, demonstrates unprofessional appearance, dresses inappropriately, preparation is problematic. We know that, again, we are always to be interview ready. So we need to make sure that we are on target. Because if for some reason you are in the acceptable or unacceptable part of the rubric, documentation as in a form of a digression will be used. And let's dive deeper into that. Within the realm of digressions would be egregious violations also that may constitute grounds for decision regarding professional remediation or separation from the UTA EPP. Some examples of that could be illegal or unethical conduct involving minor children, conduct which would be grounds for dismissal from a teaching position, mishandling of private and confidential student information, serious violations of UTA's honor code and code of conduct. Now, we know that this is not going to happen, but the reason why we are sharing this is because it has happened. So it is up to us as your co-ed staff to make you aware not only of the professional dispositions that that I just talked about, but also the egregious digressions that could possibly get you terminated from your clinical teaching. Now, let's move on and talk about your placement dates. For fall of 2025, your placement starts on placement 1 on the start of the ISD to October the 3rd, and then your second placement October 6th through December 5th. Your first day of your first day is the first day of your district's cooperating teachers reporting date. So you need to make sure that you are going to your district's website to find that start date. And then once you get your assignment, you need to email your cooperating teacher to see what their start date is. And you will be introducing yourself. We'll talk about that in a upcoming slide. But you are required to report on the same day as when your cooperating teacher reports. So it's going to be imperative that you make contact with them to get the particulars of where to go and the time to be there. All right, let's talk about your teaching schedule and your professional expectations. You are expected to keep the same hours as your cooperating teachers. You're expected to participate in all activities that your cooperating teacher, or I'm going to say CT, is involved in at your school. So that would include, again, same hours. You check in at the office if they check in. When I was in the classroom and even out of the classroom, when you would go in, I would have to, they had a computer sign in type of thing that I would have to sign in to make sure, sign in and sign out. Any activity like art meetings, before and after school duties, any faculty meetings, any faculty or staff development trainings, you are expected to be there. As far as taking over teaching, you will have at least 2 weeks where you take over the whole classroom in each of your placements, placement 1 and placement 2. You will experience all teaching responsibilities in your classroom placements. At what pace and in which order you acquire these responsibilities will be coordinated by your CT and your field supervisor. Please be aware that your CT's philosophy may be different from yours, but you are expected to be respectful to that philosophy, perhaps making notes on how you would manage procedures differently in your own classroom. Minimally, you are expected to take over teaching, including all classroom responsibilities of a teacher. For instance, if you are in elementary, it could be taking lunch count or doing the absent reporting of the students, attendance. Yeah, attendance. Walking them to their specials, recess, all of that would be, and I'm using this because that was I was elementary. Again, all responsibilities. Okay. Now, during your clinical, you will be working with your CT using the gradual release model. The I do, we do, you do. She or he will model the I do and you will co-teach with them in the We Do, and then they release you to teach on your own during the You Do. That gradual release model is also provided in the handbook. Moving on to the absence policy. You have up to 3 days to be absent. But as we address this policy, please understand that the expectation is that you report to school all day, every day during your clinical assignment. The absence policy then does not suggest that candidates should take 3 days off during the clinical teaching. These days are built in to give you room for various allowable circumstances, which includes illness, taking your certification exams, and attending job fairs or interviews. Should you miss more than 3 days, you will need to make those days up the week of December 8th. Because remember, each placement is 8 weeks, so 16 weeks in total. However, you will have to go that 17th week to get those days taken care of. Because of your graduation date, that would be the week of December 8th. You will only have 4 days available to make up any missed time. So we're saying this because several candidates in previous semesters who operated with the mindset of having their 3 days, allowed days, either became ill or experienced an unexpected life event that caused them to miss more days. Had those candidates not missed attending their clinical except when there was no other option, they would not have had to report during the 17th week. So if or when those allowable circumstances occur, here's the procedure for reporting your absence. Before the school day even begins, you need to call your CT. You will email your field supervisor, your program coordinator, and co-ed field at uta.edu. There is an absentee form found on Canvas. Ms. Miller will show you that once we get to that part. You'll complete that absentee form. And then you will handle all classroom responsibilities like you're preparing for a sub. Whatever that your cooperating teacher has you responsible for during the school day, you need to have something prepared for that, especially if you're doing your 2-week where you're taking the class over. You need to have something prepared. And that might mean you'd have to email it in to your CT or have a folder ready or something. And then you're going to follow any campus procedures as far as reporting an absence. Take a minute, a second, to look at this slide. Can somebody unmute and tell me what this slide says? Anybody, quickly. So I know you're attending.
No substitute teaching.
Thank you very much. No substitute teaching. While you are clinical teaching, you may not be used as a sub because the current substitute shortage is as pressing as the teacher shortage. The odds are that administrators on your campus will be scrambling to cover classes, and they may ask you to stand in as a sub. If you are called on the sub, you need to state that as a clinical teacher, you are not permitted to sub. If administration can't place you in a classroom with a teacher employed by the district, you may need to leave the campus that day. Now, if they can place you with another teacher or district staff, you are more than able and welcome and advised to stay so that you can get your time for the day. Okay? Again, if they provide you with someone, a district employee or staff, you can stay. But if you find yourself in a situation where you need additional support, you can give us a call. Those are our numbers right there. Moving on. Here's our first interactive activity. In the chat, answer this question. How should you respond if you are asked to substitute teach during your clinical? A, while I am clinical teaching, I am not allowed to serve as a substitute teacher. B, I must be in the classroom with the district employee. C, both of the above. Drop your answer in the chat. Alexandra, great. Emily, yes. Peyton, yes. David, thank you. Pilar, awesome. Y'all are correct. Monica, Thomas, very good. Both. You're not allowed, but you can if you are with a district employee. Next question. If or when my cooperating teacher is absent, I should A, go home because my cooperating teacher can't supervise me. B, call and email in sick because it is the best time to take off a day. C, fill in as the sub teacher for the classroom with no other employee of the district in the classroom with me. Or D, report to the office to alert administration that your CT is absent and await instructions for where and how to report. Drop your answer in the chat. Alexandra, you're on it. Thank you, David, Emily, Thomas, Pilar, Peyton. Excellent. Yes, go to the office. Let them know. And if they are able to accommodate you by putting you in with someone else. We had a question last time, Ms. Miller. I think it was a music or art teacher that says, okay, well, what happens if my art teacher is absent? Well, they can put you in another classroom. That's fine. You want to go ahead and get that time so you won't have to make it up. So wherever they can place you, do that. And that'll give you an opportunity to see how am I trying to explain it? You'll get that variety, put it like that.
Yeah, and I'm going to jump in right now, Mrs. Owens, and just say art and music are cross-curricular, interdisciplinary, right?
True.
We want to be integrating all content areas and learners being exposed to art and music. So it really isn't a waste of your time to be in a math or a science classroom for a day. You might have an aha moment when you learn how to better plan intercurricular or cross-curricular lessons and stuff. So,
and it gives you a idea too of different discipline styles, put it like that. Moving on. A or B? What does start of ISD mean? The first day of classes, that's when the students come, or the first day teachers return for the semester? Drop your answer in the chat. Y'all got it. Exactly. That's why it's going to be important that once you get your placement, you reach out to your CT and see what day you need to report. Thank you, guys. All right, let's talk about communication expectations in your professional interactions and when emailing. This slide basically says anytime you are with your CT, your field supervisor, any person in the district, any co-ed staff, unless anytime you're out in public with them, it is important that you address them with their title and their last name. Now, if your mentor allows you to use their first name, that should only be when you're in private with them, when you're maybe discussing lesson plans or something like that. But if you're around the children, the students, around personnel, let's keep it professional. Okay? That's what the expectation is, to always keep it professional, because remember, in those professional dispositions, you're always interview ready. When emailing, when emailing us, oh no, let me go back. That's in the next slide. When emailing your cooperating teacher, your initial contact with them needs to be as soon as you get that email telling you what your placement is. Some of you have already gotten it. Some of you are still waiting. We understand that. As soon as we get it, we'll get it to you. Okay. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to email both of your placements, but you're going to email them separately. You're going to copy coedfield@uta.edu on each of those emails. If necessary, introduce yourself. If you already know them, again, just express your appreciation for being able to continue to work with them, or they'll have different learners. So express your appreciation for being able to work with them and their learners during your clinical. Let them know what your placement dates are. Learn their work hours. Learn where you need to report on day one. All right. Then with your second placement, email them. Let them know that they are your second placement, because sometimes they don't know. And if it's important that you do that, because sometimes they may have left, and whoever scheduled them didn't know. Maybe they are going to be out for that period of time. So it's important that you learn whether or not it's going to be feasible for them to work with you. That way, if there is a problem, you can let us know, and we'll be able to help get you a second assignment. Does that make sense? Okay, thank you. Now, when emailing us, to better help us help you, please include the following: your first and last name, your UTA ID, your TEA ID, and your certification program. Providing this information is critical in helping us Be prepared to swiftly and accurately address your concerns or questions, because not only are we working with you, we're working with 100+ field-based candidates, and then we're also working with ACP candidates. So in order for us to be able to access your information quickly, that just helps us to answer you seamlessly. Oh, okay. Question time again. We're utilizing the chat. Where can I find my district's academic calendar? A, published on the district website. B, ask my cooperating teacher for one. C, posted in the portfolio. D, A, and or B. Drop your answer in the chat. Y'all are awesome. Exactly. D, A, and or B. Now, as I end my portion of the presentation, I'd like you to reflect on these open-ended questions. They are, what are some benefits of emailing your cooperating teacher as quickly as possible? And then, what are some negative outcomes of not emailing your CT to introduce yourself? Take about 30 seconds to drop a few lines in response to either, if you would like. Give me some responses of what could be some benefits, and then what could be some negative outcomes of not emailing. Let's see. Thomas says, more time to figure out any issues that may come up. Awesome. That's a benefit, yes. Looks like I had somebody else trying to answer. Well, that was my end of the presentation, and I am going to let Ms. Miller take over from there. Hold on, Ms. Miller. Alexandra says, shows respect and professionalism. Emily, allows the CT to plan ahead for that portion of the semester. Awesome. Thank you guys for being so attentive and participating. I appreciate you. Ms. Miller.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Owens, for clarifying the expectations for clinical teaching and communication. Now let's turn our attention to the clinical teaching module in the portfolio. We're going to guide you through how it works and detail the state required tasks you must complete during this final semester. Also, just a quick friendly reminder, keep your cameras on throughout the duration of the session. And without further ado, we will welcome you to the clinical teaching module, your final step in the Canvas portfolio. You should be excited. I'm going to be looking at it. This module houses all the required documentation you have to complete your clinical according to state requirements. So on the left side of the screen, you'll see the topics I'll be talking about. On the right side, you'll see a little screenshot of the actual module. If this screenshot is blurry, we were told by former attendees that the screen was a little blurry. If you're having a hard time seeing it and you can get to Canvas, do so now, because everything I'm going to talk about is going to be in Canvas, and you can look at it and see it better, perhaps, if that is the case with you. All right, so we've got an about this section and reporting your absences. Notice those are pages. They are not assignments. Assignments are all indented another little bit, but the pages are informative and will guide you. About this section is in every single module. We're going to look at it briefly in a moment, and reporting absences will remind you of everything that Mrs. Owens just presented to you a few minutes ago. So I'll take a brief look at that with you. In the module, the due dates are populated. So please go ahead and turn on your notifications if you have not done so already. Watch your to-do list. Your two basic categories you'll be looking at in this module are placement 1 and placement 2. If you can get through placement 1, pretty much placement 2 is a repeat of that. So it'll feel very comfortable the longer you experience the documentation and how that will work. You will have access to all forms that are necessary in this module. Now, we will provide your cooperating teachers with the forms they need and your UTA field supervisors with the forms they need. However, let's say your CT can't find the email that we sent with the speech competency form and the teacher observation report. Feel free to download it for them and share it with them. And because you have access to the same form that they do, and you can preview that form as well to be an if you're being assessed by someone, you ought to know how you will be assessed, and you can look at that at any time. And then the assignment titles. You've got a lot to do in this module, and we have done our best to make them due in the time period that they're naturally occurring, so that when you have your speech competency assessed, you just upload it. When you have your informal observation, you just upload it, right? You do it when it happens. But the titles can be very similar. So please carefully attend to what each assignment is titled so that you don't upload a formal observation from your field supervisor where an informal observation should go, or the cooperating teacher observation report where the field supervisor's observation report should go. Just be attentive so that you can do things right the first time. All right, and then in this module, as with our other modules, to help you succeed, every assigned task includes supporting resources, instructions, videos, exemplars, and rubrics. Please read the materials well before each deadline to help. Again, this is about you getting your submission right on the first attempt. All right. So we're going to take a moment and review the About This section page together. This is where you're going to find the attendance and the co-teaching log early before the actual assignment is due. And if you can, navigate to that page now. If you cannot, this is the page screenshot for you. So when we look at the About This section page, you'll see it reviews key requirements and gives you quick access, as I just said, at the bottom, that link to the attendance and co-teaching log. It's important to begin using your log on the very first day you report, which is the start of the ISD, even though it isn't due completed until the very last day of placement 1 and the very last day of placement 2. And so we put it here for convenience that you can access it quickly. Now, I want to take a moment and read through this page, as it has very important information that you might not have seen before. You are completing a 16-week clinical. It is your on-the-job training. It is your final phase in the EPP. All right. As Mrs. Owens has presented, you are expected to embody the full role of the professional educator, including your appearance, your punctuality, your attendance, and your pedagogy. Right. That's all equally important. And this particular module will walk you through reporting your placement, uploading your speech competency forms, completed by your CT, uploading your observation reports from your cooperating teachers, uploading all the documentation from your field supervisor, including informal and formal observations, and then completing TAC-driven surveys at the beginning, midway, and end of your clinical teaching. They are required, and we'll give you a link to complete that in the module. In red, please read along with me. It's very important. Move through this module in order and carefully attend to all due dates. Any work submitted that does not meet state requirements will be rejected. Your graduation and certification will be denied or delayed until all documentation meets state standards. That's why we give you the support and the tools that we do to help you get it right the first time. These are non-negotiables. As you'll see in a moment, something's either compliant or it isn't. And it's 100% your responsibility to make sure all of your documentation in your portfolio is compliant. And then again, at the end, you can grab a copy of your attendance co-teach log here. And remember, for any documentation this semester, please get it from this module. Do not use an older or outdated version of it. It will not have been updated or approved for accessibility, and it will cause issues with your submission. Okay, second page in that module is the reporting absences, and here for your convenience is repeated the steps that Mrs. Owens instructed you to take in the beginning of the presentation. We give you links to the absentee form. It takes you about 30 seconds to complete it, and then we remind you of what to do in what step. Now, I want to pause a moment here to say you will learn when you report an absence, if you ever do, and we're telling you now that absences must be reported in half-day increments. For example, if you have a doctor's appointment at 2:30 p.m. and school ends at 3 p.m., you must report the absence for the entire second half of the day. This policy is in place because it's the same professional standard your cooperating teacher must follow. In the world of professional education, you don't take off a half an hour early. You put in for time to take a half a day, and you use that half a day as you need. But it's not, I need to run to pick up something, or I need to go get a doctor's appointment. You don't do that without taking your time to do it. So as a clinical teacher, you will do the same. All right, we're going to cover some common themes in the clinical teaching module in just a moment, but first I want to show you an example of the support built into every task. So we're going to use the very first one, reporting your placement, to see how it works. So if you look to the left of the screen, you'll see the instructions that we talked about. It just presents and tells you what to do. Then underneath those instructions, you'll see two links. Those are the links to exemplars. Here we have an acceptable reporting and an example of unacceptable reporting. And then under that, we have a link to the video support. They're very brief videos that give you just a little bit more narrative if you're a little lost on exactly what is expected. And then finally, at the right of the screen, you'll see a rubric. And the rubric has the different criterion separated, and you'll see the ratings. It's either compliant or not compliant, and you're expected to review the rubric if for any reason your submission is declined, and find out what's wrong there, along with comments that we might add. Heads up on this particular task, the teaching schedule is often an area where candidates are non-compliant. So please do what we've asked and read the expectations carefully prior to submitting the task so that you get it right the first time. We really don't want you to have to redo work, and we really don't want to have to reassess it either. All right, now I'm going to walk you through some common themes of the clinical teaching module. You'll see highlighted on the left with the screenshot of the module again, and then on the right, the kind of categories. So you've got your reporting in each placement highlighted in yellow. You've got surveys at the beginning and end and in the middle of your placements. Those would be in blue. And you got your first 15 days of school, which only occurs in placement 1, and that's grayed out. And you notice these first 3 bullets on the left have check marks next to them, as well as the very bottom one. So I'm going to skip to the green highlighted attendance and co-teaching log. Do 2 times at the end of each placement, actually on the very last day of each placement. And they're checked because these start with you 100%. You may immediately go look at the task, print out the documentation you need, and start seeing what you need to do to get the task handled through to completion. So those are totally in your ballpark for being able to get it done and uploaded promptly and on time. Not that you can't do that with the teal, pink, and orange highlights. You certainly can, but those tasks don't start with you. They start with your field supervisor or your cooperating teacher. So you're somewhat reliant upon them to get that document completed and to you in order to upload it. So the next task, you'll see your field supervisor informal tours, 3 across the entire clinical. Most of you will have 2 informal observations in the placement, in the first placement, and then 1 in the second placement. Not necessarily that way, but most of you will. And then your field supervisor will formally observe you 2 times in each placement. Each of your 2 cooperating teachers will observe you formally once and assess your speech competency once. And so that is a quick thematic model. What happens in placement 1 happens in placement 2. All right, now we're going to deep dive, if you will, into the attendance co-teaching log. Everything else we've covered in some today as an overview, but we're going to go into this in depth because it is very important. And recording the information is critical. So please do attend to it closely and jot down questions if you have any. To clear your attendance in a timely manner, we need your logs to be accurate. Remember, I said they're due at the last day of each placement. The best way to avoid errors is to follow the exemplars in Canvas. Feel free to navigate to one of the placement 1 or placement 2 attendance co-teach log assignment to look at the exemplars if these are in any way blurry. Anyway, following the examples will save you the inconvenience of having to track down your cooperating teacher for corrections after your placement has ended, and you will have to do that if they're non-compliant. And so with that said, I want to look at 2 options for completing. You can see on the left-hand side of the screen is our handwritten mode. That's one option. And on the right-hand side of the screen is our typed mode, the other option. Going to the handwritten mode, if you like just handling things by hand, and that works well for your workday and your cooperating teachers' work day, then print the form as it is, fill it out each day, and get a signature each day. That would be the way you'd handle it. If you're one who likes to type everything and just get that manual signature, and it has to be a handwritten signature, nothing else is suitable for this, then you may fill out the form on your computer. When a page is complete, print that page and then get the signatures for the entire page at one time. The best practice is to get your signatures daily. It ensures you won't encounter any issues should your cooperating teacher become incapacitated, and that has happened. And so that's just best practice, but certainly the completed log should be signed in increments. At no more than 1 full page at a time when you sit down with your cooperating teacher and he or she signs off on it. And again, it's a last day in the module. the literally last day of your whole clinical teaching, and we need to clear it quickly because you graduate very quickly after that. So we don't have time to mess with it. You don't have time to mess with it. We want to clear you and say congratulations to you. All right, we're going to look at the criterion on the rubric, which is to the right, and then compare it with the example to the left. Again, look at Canvas itself. If the screenshots should be difficult to see. So highlighted in orange on both sides, the rubric and the example, are the placement details. You are assessed for having that part completed correctly. Then highlighted in pink, the time format. Highlighted in teal, the date format. The main thing about the date is don't forget the year. It must have the 2025 on it. And the time format may be recorded in hours and minutes, right? So that's going to be designated for you. Highlighted in green, you'll see the time of the day and hours and minutes. And you're reminded on the rubric, you can record those in decimals or in minutes. So 1.5 hours or 1 hour, 30 minutes, doesn't matter. You use the mode that works best for you. Highlighted in blue would be your co-teaching documentation. Not every entry, not every day will you have anything documented in this column, and it is okay. It's only to set apart for the state when you are co-teaching or to designate other unique after normal school day hour opportunities you take advantage of. I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment, more about that. All right, so with that, I've covered the blue. Now the yellow highlighted is the teacher signatures, and then you'll see your purple highlights at the bottom of the exemplar are the total time for page, and then a grand total of hours at the very end when you're absolutely done. Highlighted in gray would be your student name and UTAID number, and then finally, what's circled here is the fact that we do look at the entirety of your logs and reflection or co-teaching log as to make sure 8 weeks are sufficiently documented for each placement. All right, so here we're giving you a top 10 because we want to help you know what do I look for to get that sufficiently documented time accurate, right? We want to get it right. So here we go. Use the teacher's work hours as your time in and out every day, period. The only time that should change is if you're running late, right? 2, log each day separately. You would think that would be self-explanatory, but we don't want you to see the blue arrow to the left of the example. That's the week that begins. And then only 1 entry for each week. And then each day goes on its own separate line. Don't try to put a whole week's worth of attendance in one line, please. 3, briefly document co-teaching or special experiences like open house or tutorials in the co-teach column. Not every day you will enter anything there. 4, have your CT assigned daily, best practice, weekly, minimally. 5, log your professional development days as such. Those days do count toward fulfilling your clinical. I'm going to be talking about one very specifically next. So don't dock yourself. If your professional development takes you off your school campus, you are still completing the requirements of your clinical. So give yourself that time and document professional development. Log absences is either half or full days, and clearly log full day absences is not served. You'll see that highlighted in yellow for you. Clearly, this reporter did not attend a whole day, and clearly only 4 hours for the next school day. 8, include a page total of hours at the bottom of each page. 9, on the very last page of your document when you're done, add up all the page hours and give us a grand total. And then finally, number 10, you round up or down at 30. So 7 hours and 30 minutes would be 8 hours, 7 hours and 15 minutes, 7 hours. On this example, you'll see 62 hours, 0.25 minutes would be 62 hours. You didn't make the 0.5 mark. All right, and so let's move on to this. We are tight on time, so I'm going to walk you through this, all right? But do look at the example, all right? Based on what we've discussed, you should know that this would be non-compliant. If you submitted something like this, it's absolutely non-compliant. It suggests that your cooperating teacher didn't look at all at anything that you've logged, that perhaps the material included isn't correct or accurate, and that we can't rely on the accuracy. When your cooperating teacher signs his or her name, they are validating what happened. Give them the time and opportunity to do it. Do not rush them. In no uncertain way should you ever give them all 8 weeks to sit down and have to sign at one time. Absolutely not. That's not professional, not acceptable. So thank you for that. And now, take a note of this required professional development. We'll send you a follow-up that reminds you of this. You must attend on Wednesday, 8/27 from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. the 6th floor library here at UTA, the atrium. It's called the Future Maverick Teacher Orientation. So you will be there. Let your cooperating teachers know that you'll be there. It's expected you'll be prompt. You'll be dressed professionally. You'll have questions for the district. I believe it's Arlington. Yes, AISD will be there. You will return to the assigned campus afternoon or record a half day's absence. If you opt not to go back, you need to count yourself as absent that day. And if you don't attend, you'll also have to make it up the 17th week. So your programs have said this is a non-negotiable, be there. No exceptions. The benefits, though, of being there, you get to start at 10 a.m. instead of 7:30 or whatever time you're starting. And you may record your professional development as 8 to 12 or the start of your school day to 12. So you're getting that half day time, even though you're really only mandated to be there for 2 hours. You also get to network with AISD HR personnel, which could be very helpful. So thank you for making note of that. We will send a follow-up information to remind you. Remember, record it on your logs as professional development. Okay, today has been an overview. We are going to offer you optional support sessions for each type of submission. Please make a note of those dates here, and Mrs. Owens is kindly putting the links with all the details you need in the chat. Feel free to do that now. And if you need my assistance, Mrs. Owens, just let me know. No worries. Okay, so the key thing to know, they start at 4:30 p.m. except for on Fridays. If we have a Friday session, we start at 4. And note that the logs and reflections is due, we're having that support session much earlier than it's due, and that is intentionally scheduled early to help you troubleshoot problems well before the deadline. There might be something come up on your campus that we didn't think about that you might want to ask, right? Or just let us look at your log to see how it's going. You're welcome to do that. These are optional. Save the dates, and everything's going into the chat now. Other items I'm going to go through very quickly regarding the portfolio and hopefully capture those questions that were put in at the beginning of the chat. I do believe Mrs. Owens covered what is a disposition. That was one question. The other ones regarding placements and exams. So I'm going to talk about exams here very briefly. Watch Canvas. We will be opening a new module soon, and it is the certification module. And in that module, you are going to be able to simplify the process of finding out what you need to do to take your practice exams, gain approval for your official exams, and validate your credentials for hiring school districts. So also listen to your program seminars. More details are coming. Just keep your eyes open. In the interim, Yes, you can take your exams before, and you should if you can, before you finish your clinical and before you graduate. The more you make yourself hiring ready, the better your opportunity is. We have districts tell us all the time, we're wanting to pre-interview, pre-hire, pre-everything your candidates, and they haven't taken a test, one, and they can't do it. So get it done, and we're trying to help you do that. Until then, co-ed certification at uta.edu is the email address you need to reach out to if you're ahead of the game on that, and good for you. All right, if you haven't done so already, you need to complete your pre-placement documents module now. It's way past due. Get it done today. If you haven't done so already, get your professional development trainings module finished now. It's way past due. Get it done today. If you haven't done your field-based experience logs, if they haven't been cleared, get them uploaded now. Failure to do any of those will prohibit you from being able to start your clinical. We will, if we have to, call the principal and say, do not let the candidate come onto campus until these are done. You can't start your clinical until they are all done. That is state requirements. So please tend to anything that's missing. We have a helpful resources module. If you need quick access to any document, you can find that right after the clinical teaching module. And as far as placement confirmations, some of you here today are fully placed, some are only partially placed, some know their placement, some don't know their placement yet. We are promising you, hopefully, that we'll be able to notify everybody by the first day of K through 12 school. Yes, we did hear that we did not say start of the ISD. For very few people, it happens that you don't have your first placement by the start of the ISD. We're aware of you. We're not going to forget you, but know that this is a waiting game. Mansfield ISD will probably be the last one that comes in. Somebody asked about Mansfield, so get ready to wait. All right. Watch your UTA email. That's how you'll be notified. Read that notification completely, carefully, save it for future reference, and then don't forget to turn on those Canvas notifications. I'm doing well. I went as fast as I could, but it wasn't too much over. So, whew, let's review. I'll slow it down a bit. Okay, for the portfolio side. Preview documentation expectations, use all the support we've embedded into the module to help you get it right the first time. Attend to additional training sessions when you need. They are optional and only there because we have to go over so much today, and we go over in much more detail at those optional support sessions. Attend to deadlines. Your teachers, don't miss it. You don't want your students missing deadlines. Don't miss them as the candidate. And then turn on your notifications in Canvas. Over the rest of the summer, we will reach out to you in Canvas for various reasons. We need you to get that information. And then for district placements and readiness, please address district particulars to the districts. If you're asked to complete something on one of their forms, ask them to clarify. We aren't it is in our form, it is in our process, it is in our procedure. You need to go to the author of those forms to get assistance. Watch your UTA email for placement notifications. They're coming. Get ready. Probably within the next week, they'll start coming to you if they haven't already. And the no negotiables, get those modules done now that haven't been completed, as well as your FBE. And then I believe I've done. For your final attendance check, would you please kindly type your name and your placement status in the chat. And for placement status, just use the term fully placed, partially placed, or pending. And after that, you are free to go. However, if you've got a question or you just like to listen to the dialogue that happens, please feel free to stay on the line. And if you would like to ask a question, you can drop those in the chat. You can raise your hand, or you can simply unmic. We're a relatively intimate group, so unmic and ask. We are happy to do that, and we will start taking questions now. And don't be afraid, someone else needs to ask that question too, I promise. So don't hesitate to ask a question. Okay, I'm looking in the chat. I don't see any. I don't see any hands raised. Would anyone like to just unmute and ask? Okay, I see new messages coming in. Question. How will we know when we receive our approval to take our exam? Okay, it's a great question, Mr. Fortner. And that is a great question for our certification officer. Okay, so why don't you go ahead and reach out? Let me type it in co-ed certive. Co-ed certification at uta.edu. I hope I didn't misspell it. Pardon me if I did. I'm a good speller, but a terrible typist. So, all right. So I'm sorry I can't give you all the detail you need, but certification office can. Be patient. It's a busy time for that office. All right. And then if our CT has a sub, will that count against our 3 days? Absolutely not, Mr. Williams. As long as you log that you were attending, you get full credit. It doesn't matter what classroom, and you don't have to say, my sub was absent and I was sent to another classroom. Nope. Just put you were there at the time you arrived, the time you departed, and have your CT sign off when he or she returns. Or if something happens, we hope it doesn't, but the CT can't return, then an administrator or whoever supervised you that day, you would just get their signature for that. Okay, I've answered those. I see someone else typing. You don't have to be shy, you can. Also, just ask.
And again, if we've answered your question and you've done your last attendance, you are free to go. Thank y'all for participating.
Okay, typing on my end stopped, so it doesn't look like
mine
anybody's
too.
thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a question.
Okay.
Whenever I was applying to be a student teacher observer for Arlington ISD, on my end, it showed that there was no openings and that they'll notify me. And so I was a little confused on how to apply because it wouldn't let me because it kept saying that. And so I would just press my application at the top and it asked for all my information. And then at the end, it said like they'll see it that way. So I don't know if I did apply or like what that means.
I haven't heard from the district that they didn't have your application. I was just in AIST's information this morning, and let me see really quickly here. One moment. Yeah, I don't think there's a problem at all. But if I do hear back, that would be a perfect example, Ms. Perez, of what would need to be addressed to the district because it's not our form, it's not our system, and that. But based on what I see with you in the district, you don't have, it did go through, you're just fine. You don't have to worry about anything, okay? If for any reason it didn't, they'll tell us and they'll say she needs to reapply and we'll let you know. And if that should happen, why don't you just go ahead and make a note to reach out to Ms. Borchers immediately before you start the process again, right? To make sure you understand it. She's very good about taking any time she needs to help a candidate who might be encountering issues on their website.
How do I reach out to her?
That should have been in previous emails, but it might not have been. It's M. Borcher. Let me type it in the chat too, so you can just grab it.
Okay, thank you.
And her email address ends with an R, but her name is Borchers with an S. Okay.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you. And it looks like you're the last one. Any other questions, Alexandra?
Oh, Thomas was holding on. I thought
That'll
he
be
had
all.
a,
I
he
think he
got
had.
off though.
Oh, okay. Well, there might be 4 of us. Let's see. No, he's gone. All right. Well, if you don't have
Right.
anything else, thank you so much. We wish you the
you.
best. All best with clinical teaching.
Thank you. Have a
You
good
bet.
day.
You
Bye.
too.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.